You are watching Leicester Till I Die TV.
Watch us on YouTube.
Listen on your favourite podcast platform.
Or ask your smart speaker
To play the podcast Leicester Till I Die.
Right, Chris.
All right. Good evening, good day, good morning, good afternoon, good night, goodbye. Hello, wherever you are in the world. It's LTID TV from Leicester Till I Die. Thank you for joining us, whether that is via YouTube, live or catch up, or you are listening to us on your favourite podcast platform. It is a pleasure to be here. As you can see, it's Sunday night. We don't usually pop up on a Sunday night, but let's face it, you got a choice: one man and his dog, or two men and their team. And of course, this is the two men and their team option. Never let it be said that I call Brad a dog. But as you can see from his picture there, he is still down in Cornwall. Personally, I think he's got a woman. Expect when he comes back and we've got him on screen that he will be a married man. Good evening, Brad. How are you doing?
I don't know where you come up with such wild ideas, mate. That's that's not the case. I'm good, thanks. We were saying backstage, weren't we?
Why else would you want to stop in Cornwall? I mean, what is it?
I'm here for a Gangsters protest to not allow them into the country.
Well, fair enough. If that's the reason that you are there, then why not? Not everybody loves a gangster. We're going to be looking today, as you can see there, it's the transfer show. These will probably be sort of either weekly and then specials as and when we actually sign somebody. The specials will just be on that particular signing. I'm not going to do them if players leave, but these are just going to be the general ones, and not sort of a news now roundup where we're talking about somebody that we've been linked from Outer Mongolia, and it's going to come in with his goat herd. We're just going to stick to the main ones, aren't we, Brad?
Yeah, like the North Macedonian rumours, them sort of players, the special ones. We'll only be focusing on them.
Well, I believe if North Macedonia are looking for a new national team manager, Wayne Rooney is available, of course.
Don't you disrespect my North Macedonia with that slur saying he's available.
Hey, I could have said Frank Lampard.
I'll leave. I know, you figured out the clue.
I am playing with fire a little bit, aren't I?
Just a bit. Next was Stephen Gerrard as assistant, and I was booting you out.
Gray is in. Good evening, Gray. Highfields on his alimony tour is in. Good evening, Highfields. Craig as well. Hi, Craig. How are you doing? Spencer. Hello. And Gray is laughing at the Rooney comment. I love the fact that they picked up an old post that he'd put out on Twitter that said, "One day I want to be Manchester United manager." I think that might be the under-10s, though. That he said. But look, it's going to be an interesting January window. I think we all sort of went into this window, Brad, thinking, hey, it's going to be great, top of the league. Let's go and get some players in and let's just smash it. And then Enzo comes out and says, actually, guys, hang on a little bit. We've got 25 squad players. We've got to let some go before we can sign them in. And now he's saying we've got to sell before we can buy as well. Iversen's gone, and we'll come on to that in a second. So there is one squad place there. A little bit of deja vu here, Brad, from the other summer?
Not so much, because we're in a lot better situation squad-wise. That's all obviously subject to change at the end of the season again with a few players. But I think if you looked at the list of players that we potentially lose for nothing in the summer at this rate, the only standout one that I know of, and someone might correct me with a few other names, is Ndidi. So that aside, I don't really think we actually need to go out and do too much drastic action in this window. You know, we're not like, I don't know, we're not like a team that plays in what called Leeds United, who were 463 million points off us after they were coming for us. You know, I don't think we need to panic buy and get anybody in. So,
yeah.
But I get what you're saying, but I wonder if Enzo kind of meant it in a different way. Sort of like saying that if I'm going to bring someone in, they're going to be challenging for the first team. And I've got enough first team players currently here, so someone's got to go before I can add to it.
Well, I was going to say that. I'm going to say hi to Craig from AFC Bournemouth, up the clouts in all departments. How are you doing, Craig? We've still not had that drink. I think it's been 9 months we've been trying to arrange this now. We've still not had it. It's because when you get talking to Craig about arranging something, he never shuts up to actually arrange it. Hello, Craig. How are you doing? The Yorkshire vet there, Paddy, of course. Doug's in as well. Hello, Doug. How are you? Obviously happy with the win today. Look, if you're going to bring somebody in, Brad, there's no point bringing anybody in unless that person is going to improve what you've got. Now, I know it's slightly different in January because when you talk in January window, sometimes, you're buying because of injury or you etc. But how many points? 10 points clear of second, 13 points or something more than that clear of third. Who can we bring in that can improve what we've got?
Yeah, exactly that. And look, I know it doesn't make too much of a difference. It's probably a little bit easier actually in the Championship to maybe get someone in on a cheaper wage or something like that. I can see some benefits to add into it, but then you're jumping the gun if you're because Leicester's position, Chris, in the strength of that squad and the quality of the depth of that squad. More importantly, you'd be buying for next season. And like I said, you jump the gun. I know, like you said, I don't want to jinx it. Don't want to Kevin Keegan our season here, which I don't see happening. But never say never, sort of thing. But like I said, 13 points clear of third, 17 points clear of Leeds, because I'm going to keep reminding them of it every time, just in case there's a Leeds fan in here.
Why not?
Yeah, when everybody said that someone's got to blink, Leicester kept their eyes wide open, didn't they? And they've not blinked. In fact, if anything, they've rolled the sleeves up and shown they've got it. So, yeah, we said this after the post match and talked about it during the Millwall game, didn't we, Chris? Where it's like there's no point in us bringing someone in for the sake of bringing someone in, because we're in a great position all round. We don't need anyone just for the sake of it.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at, to my mind, January, basically people know that you're buying because you're desperate, so they're going to up the price anyway. And I've said this to you many times, and I've said it on the show many times. Go back to Newcastle and the Kevin Keegan had Lovett season. Bringing Asprilla in to a team that was it 10 points clear of Man United at the time. As a great player as he was, you've got to say he disrupted that team and was probably not his fault, but one of the reasons, as good as he was, that Man United ended up catching Newcastle.
Yeah, and it's one that's never really talked about because the meltdown of Keegan was more iconic than the destruction of the signing. But that's the sign of when it can all go wrong. I mean, I don't want to. So some Leicester fans might remember this. There might be some that are watching this that don't quite remember it, and I know you will, Chris, because it's early 90s, and I think I'm on about the Mark McGee era. We were top at Christmas. It wasn't as bad. I know that sworn name that thou shall not be mentioned. I know, every time. But it's like any of these names, like Tater Peeler as well. It just sends a heebie-jeebies down you.
Yeah.
But when he left us, we were top at Christmas, weren't we, Chris? If you remember rightly, that season. And it wasn't as big a gap as what it is now, but we were still technically top at Christmas. It wasn't. We didn't have the luxury we have now. But that was when O'Neill came in, and it went wrong before it went right, didn't it? That was a season that was
I'm
not
not.
always. I always have in the back of my head when I think of being top at this point, and then
I didn't think we were top when O'Neill came in. I thought we were in the playoffs, in the top six, but I didn't think we were top. But
maybe we dropped a bit when the rumours started about McGee. I think we might have actually dropped out of the top spot, but we were top at Christmas under Mark McGee, and then then I think when the rumours circled, the players' heads went a little bit, didn't they? Because they weren't sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, once that rumours started, it's like last season with the Bell End, wasn't it? Once the rumours all started, it just went a mess.
Yeah.
I mean, we know there are a lot of players whose contracts are up in the summer. We've got Yannick Vestergaard. I think Ricardo is as well. Ndidi, Kelechi. I'm not sure about Dennis Pratt. But there's a lot of. We've obviously got the loan players that we haven't signed, and I'm not going to say Cody or Cassidy because the chances are they may go back to their clubs. But Fatawu and Eunice are the other two. But let's wait and see where we are at the end of this season.
Yeah, definitely. Can't get ahead of ourselves. We just need to get over the line.
There's no point in buying just for the sake of buying. That said, for some reason, we keep getting linked with a centre back. There's one of those we're going to be coming on to in a minute. But we've got Suter, who hasn't let us down in the 2 games that he's played, but he just doesn't seem to be in Enzo's plans. And we've got Christensen obviously still in the squad, but he doesn't fit into his plans either. If you'd said to me, well, I actually said in December, if we don't actually physically sign somebody in January, I wouldn't be bothered. And I think if we don't, what a message that sends out to the rest of the league.
Yeah, it does. And it sends a message out to the players that he trusts what he's got in front of him. There's no necessity that unless that player themselves goes, look, they could, and a player doesn't always have to be on bad terms to leave a club either. Unless someone like a Dennis Pratt, and I hate the fact that we always talk about Dennis Pratt when it comes to transfers away and whatnot, but he's a player that he's a fan favourite, and he's one of them players. I'm sure there's been many a player sort of like him down the line that Leicester fans have loved, but he's just so and he's like an injury-prone player that you really want to see the best of. But he might say, they're the sort of players you're looking at in January that might have potential to potentially go. Anyway, I know we're going to go through players and that throughout the show, but
totally. But like I say, the other thing is, if we are going to get anybody in January, there's a lot to be said for getting them in on loan. Can you imagine if we'd bought Tete?
Oh God,
I know. But then again, look at how it worked out for Tielemans. Got him in January on loan, proved that we wanted him. But as it says there, we've only got 1 loan space available. We've already got we're allowed 5. We've got 4. You're only allowed 5 on the bench, so there's no point in bringing in more. Let's be honest with you. The other option, of course, is to make either Fatawu or Eunice permanent. Eunice, I don't think is quite there yet. Fatawu, obviously, he's not only there; he's round the corner and up the street. But
sign him now.
Yeah,
that's what I would say. Yeah,
exactly. But I don't think that's in Enzo's plans because I think we've got. Let's face it, we've got first choice on him. The only reason we'd be buying him now is to be sort of saying, we want that extra loan space. But I think he's sort of said, he's not gone to AFCON, and that's something we're going to be talking about on tomorrow night's debate show. But he's not going to AFCON, and he's sort of saying, well, he's got, he can prove himself to us now. So he's still keeping Fatawu, saying like, if you want this, as much as you appeared to be saying you want it, you've still got to prove it to me.
Yeah, it's exactly. And I mean, the bigger picture always becomes available more in the summer. With a club in Leicester's position, I think if you went to anybody that's in the automatic promotion zones in the leagues below would probably, unless they're forced to with an injury, we know obviously one player, which I didn't know about until you brought it up, was Ndidi's injury. But we've already got that sorted with two players that you've already spoke about. The two other loanees that we spoke about. So, most teams in our position will not want to do business in the window unless it's hugely necessary, or a flux of players decide for whatever reason to maybe move now, sort of thing. It's a good position to be in. Let's be honest. I'd rather us not need people than need people and not being able to get them in.
Yeah. I mean, Scott's just saying there, happy with having Eunice as a potential obligation to buy. I don't know if he is, and I'll stand corrected if he is. I didn't think we'd got the option to buy on him, but if we have, he's not let us down at all, and he's being developed into that midfield rather than the winger role, isn't he, Brad? But he still obviously is an option as a winger as well.
Yeah, he's versatile. Enzo likes a player that can play in multiple roles, and he likes his players that are a little bit outside the box. It's not often you can have somebody that you can shift out wide and then put in the middle.
Yeah.
And kind of the reverse of what he's got Pereira doing this season. He starts out wide, but actually his invertedness means he has to play in the middle. And, well, I've already mentioned him once. It's a shame we won't get to see him until the latter end of the year play for us again. But indeed, his position will change. So there's a benefit to him. And I think that's why he did so much business and as quick business as possible in the in the summer window. Because he maybe had an eye on some players that maybe said they'd stay, but have already maybe agreed that after their contracts coming to an end, they're not going to stay past that because they just want to help Leicester get back and then move on. We don't know what's going on because, Eunice, to me, Chris, he screams, and I'm sorry to say his name again, but he screams a perfect squad player to replace someone like Dennis Pratt if their contract isn't renewed. Over the next 6 months. So I like him. I do like him.
I like him. And I'm just reading on the website here that it doesn't say, it just says we've got him on loan for a season. It doesn't say an option to buy. So I don't know. If they said that we were, look, Chowdhury, let's for example say, and if Vestergaard was to sign an extension, neither of those are going to be probably first team choices when we're in the Premier League. But as squad players, we have to have a squad. We can, we are Leicester. We're not Manchester City. We're not Liverpool. We cannot have 25 first teamers that are going to be fighting for the 11th spots, are we? They're not going to be happy to sit on the bench at Leicester the way they are sat on the bench at Manchester City on 5 times the wages.
No, of course not. Football's a business at the end of the day, and there's not many a player here except for our own youth products that actually have the loyalty to Leicester, and even that's even loyalty amongst homegrown talents not a full-grown thing. But look, again, it's a nice position for Leicester to be at. You never know, Chris. I know people made the connection for obvious reasons of where Enzo's been and what they're and how he's got us playing football. But the way he has that team changing every week, not every week. I know he's got a core set, obviously, but he gives them players the feeling that they're actually going to get some game time. And maybe that they, that's ultimately on them. They have to decide: am I actually going to be happy knowing I'm actually going to get some football? Because Pep does it in the Premier League. You look at the back line, it changes actually out of nowhere. Somebody gets a run of games because they've worked hard on a training ground. I mean, I laughed at them when I saw Nathan Ake. Now he plays every so often for them, and that's taken a while, but he's getting game time. So who knows with these players? They might even decide to go, you know what, I'd rather give myself another 2 years here and sit on the bench knowing I'm going to get a chance to have an impact.
Yeah, and we have to be careful that we don't do a Burnley, and we have to sort of, as good as everything's going this season, I'm sure Burnley weren't expecting the season they're having now after the season they had last season. Problem is, of course, they had a lot of loan players, I think 4 or 5, that have sort of obviously gone back to their clubs. Then suddenly it's like, shit, So that's the problem with having too many loan signings. I mean, you would think Cashaday and Doyle are going to go back to Chelsea and Man City respectively. So we've only got the two to sort of kind of worry about. And possibly, I think if we wanted Yunus, we could get him. But we've got to be careful that we don't end up with suddenly 4 or 5 players that we've got in on loan, all going back to our clubs now. And then you're back in the deep doo-doo. It's not just a case of adding, it's a case of filling, isn't it?
Yeah, and again, that's why I think it's great the way Enzo doesn't just have like a first team and just a cup man, a cup squad. We don't. It's not like we see these players once in a blue moon that come off the bench. We kind of go, oh yeah, this is where we'll play these because they've not played all season. Now we've seen from this season the need to rotate because the games come thicker and faster in the Championship. Has kind of paved its way, and it does help us because, like you say, I mean, another thing is as well, Chris. With this Fatawu situation where I think it's a mandatory if certain requirements are met.
If we get promoted, we have to
sign. Yeah. Well, I think there was also something about a percentage of games he has to play as well. I'm sure there's added things to it, but whatever it is, and whether there is or isn't with Yunus, we don't know. Some say there is, some say there isn't. But it helps our situation to make them permanent because you get too settled and reliant on these loanees. Like you say, Chris, if they all go back, I mean, the only thing that maybe works in Leicester's favour that's a bit better to Burnley with the greatest respect to them is if Chelsea didn't want to sell Cassaday, but Enzo was pleased with him and they wanted to loan him out, you'd probably feel that you'd hope that him getting a decent time at Leicester, if that was an option, that we might take that option to loan the other two back if we couldn't get them permanently.
Yeah. No. It's going to be interesting, isn't it? But like we say, in Enzo and Top, we trust. We weren't saying that this time last season. Right, let's have a look at a few of the names. I said we're only going to do the sort of the bonds we know or the one that we think may happen or hope will happen. Iversen, well, we're down from 5 to 4. We'll come on to another one in a minute, but let's look at Iversen first because he's a done deal. I had no idea about this until yesterday morning when I got a message, or was it Friday morning? Possibly Friday morning, when I got a text message off the guy that runs the Stoke City website saying, what's he like? Is he any good? I went, why? He said, well, apparently he's having a medical. It's all gone through. It's only a loan deal till the end of the season. But he signed a 5.5-year deal, didn't he? Yeah,
he did. And I think that makes it obvious. Yeah, which is probably more obvious to why he's going to be a loan. And I hope he doesn't become a goalkeeper that, unfortunately, due to Stolarczyk being Enzo's number 2, he doesn't get caught in like that loop of goalkeepers, because he does deserve to be playing first team football. So I'm glad to see him go out on loan. It's Stoke City, with the greatest respect. Then they're not challenging for a playoff spot. They're not knocking on our door. So it's not going to like a divisional rival in that sort of sense. He obviously, well, I'm assuming here that Leicester will have agreement that they won't be able to play against us. I know sometimes you can do something with loans to have them play against you. I can't imagine he would, but he deserves to be out there playing regular football. So this is a good decision. We've got a glut of goalkeepers, and like I said, Stolarczyk's the second choice for Enzo, so he's not getting a game for us anytime soon. So yeah, it's a good move. It benefits everybody, and the way this sort of came out of nowhere and happened so quickly, it kind of feels like this has been something they've been working on in the background, almost prepping for January as best they can. I
mean, that takes us. He was a squad member. Apparently we had 4 goalkeepers in the squad. He was one of the squad members, so it does release that one place up in the squad should we wish to add another person in there. Look, he signed a 5.5-year extension to his contract last season, which seemed a bit weird, but then at the end of the day last season, I suppose we were desperate to keep hold of a goalkeeper, weren't we? And he looked, let's face it, if he'd have been our number 1 choice this season, Brad, none of us would have been surprised, would we?
No, well, I was one when we talked about it kind of fresh off the, licking our wounds from the relegation. We did a show, didn't we, Chris? We kind of discussed the relegation, the implications, and we were getting asked, I think, may have even been a Monday night show that we did, and people were asking, what do we think, who's going to be number one next season? And we was like, this isn't a position we need to worry about next season.
Yeah.
We've got a number one in IVERSEN, and then it's up to Danny Ward. Maybe we need a number two, but if Ward seems happy with the bench, we've got our goalkeeper situation sorted. So I mean, I remember when Madsen signed, I actually was like, really? Do we need another goalkeeper?
Your best friend Jordan Blackwell was called by Hermansen signing, and then I think we're all going like Stolicic. Is it Stoller? I don't know how to pronounce his name. Why? And that was one of the things I said to Stoke. He's not a natural sweeper keeper, is he? We know
No.
Mads is, and Stolcic. Look, I had no worries about him being in goal on Saturday.
No, made some good saves. Made some good saves, didn't he, yesterday? Was quite reliable.
Look, I wish Everson all the best. I think at the end of the season, what we're also doing is keeping him fit and putting him in the shop window, because he's not been in the shop window for 6 months. He's not even been on the TV screens when we've been playing, because he's not been on the bench. So, I don't think he's going to want to be the third choice, because Smithers is the other one, of course. His contract's up at the end of the season, and he's basically, and I accept that. Okay, we've got number one, we've got number two. You need a third choice goalkeeper. Of course you do, because if your first one gets injured, your second one moves up. If he gets injured, you need to bring somebody on in the game. You need three keepers. I don't think Everson is going to want to stay and be a third choice keeper. He's been, on loan at other clubs. He's been first choice. I think he'd be quite happy to drop even down a division to get regular game time. But wish him all the best. Didn't let it down. But let's be honest with you, we don't need five, do we?
No, we certainly don't. And yeah, he does. He deserves to, like I said earlier, he deserves to be playing first choice football. And he's at that point in his career where it's good that he's making that step out to find it. Yes,
yeah. Then there could be three. Danny Ward has been linked with Sheffield United. Then again, so has Kasper Schmeichel. But he's also, today, I discovered he's also been shown interest from Cardiff City. Again, look, I like Danny Ward. He never let us down when he was the number two. He got no chance. He played one Premier League game while Kasper was here. But when he played in the Cup, he never let us down. Even for the fact, I think he was a good penalty keeper as well. He won a lot of penalty shootouts. And I think he was the fall guy for last season. I don't think he was bad as people make out when you've got the sort of defence that he had in front of him. You may correct me. I mean, I whisper this, but Brad, being part of the goalkeepers union, do you think I'm being fair there, or do you think I'm giving him too much praise?
No, it's difficult. It is difficult when you've joined a club and you see the calibre. We kind of have the same issue at the front of the pitch, don't we? Not so much now, because that inevitable time of Vardy being replaced has come a bit more natural, but at the other end, when you're a goalkeeper and you're sat there and Kasper Schmeichel's playing literally every single game, you're not even getting a cup game after his run in the cup as well. People forget that. We played some good teams in penalty shootouts, and he made some good saves. He kind of reminds me of Peggy Ofaxad.
Yes,
he was, because he was a very good cup goalkeeper, a very good number two, great at saving penalties, but when the opportunity arose and I remember Casey Keller move on, I expected Peggy Ofaxad. I wanted Peggy Ofaxad to be our number one, and we went out and then I think we got Tim Flowers, didn't we?
Didn't he, of all places?
Yeah, which is very strange, because he didn't want to be a number two, which is weird because their goalkeeper, I think, was like Vesterveld at the time. There was no way he was getting him out of goal, so I don't know why he went to Liverpool of all places, but then probably money was the better option.
Yeah.
But Ward,
two, would you not
yeah.
sooner him as number 2 at Liverpool than Leicester?
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine it was double the price back then.
Even so, we have to accept, despite what we've done in the last 9 seasons, we are not a Liverpool and Arsenal or Tottenham or anybody like that. They've still got the draw of being the bigger clubs, haven't they?
Yeah, of course they do. They're always going to have it. And the only difference is Leicester were kind of forced to keep their goalkeepers, weren't they? Because of the situation of FFP, because the other areas were more important, because we had Iversen, well, we still got these players. We had Ward, Iversen, Jakupovic. Getting a goalkeeper in the first choice just wasn't the priority. We needed strengthening in other areas. But we can, and again, kind of, even though he's the bell end, he was kept in the dark. So we have to remember that as well. You know, we did do the discussion about the whole scenario. Go and check it out, guys. We did a video, didn't we, Chris, about it, talking about it, you know, the transfer thing. And I feel like Danny Ward was scapegoated. I think you're right. He was chucked under the bus, and yes, he did make a few errors with the goals. He wasn't perfect by anyone's means, but he was not as terrible as people were making out. And it's almost like instead of kind of, because the goalkeepers get the blame, don't they, Chris? When we're losing games 5-2, 6-2s, 4-1s, it isn't. You know, everybody gets a rollicking, obviously, but the guy who's picking the ball out of his net must be crap because he's conceding, when realistically he was making about double the amount of saves that he was for goals he was shipping in. That's how bad we were. So yeah, I agree with you on that point. I think Danny and Iversen maybe feel a little bit cheated out of their respective positions in the club for keeping out number 1 jersey. So I'm not surprised the rumours come around for him. And again, like Iversen, I kind of hope he gets it, because he shouldn't be a 3rd, 4th, 5th choice goalkeeper on the list. It's ridiculous. No.
I think he would fit in, well, either of those 2 clubs, you know, Cardiff City or Sheffield United. I think he'd be okay for them. Get rid of Ward off the wage bill. Just out of interest, Danny Ward, his contract expires 30th of June 2025. So we have got him for another year. Stolchik is 2026. Everson isn't even actually on my list, I suppose, because he's moved now. But I do know he did sign a 5.5-year deal. Like I say, last season extension. Interestingly, Jakub, let's call him Jakub, shall we? I didn't know, I've forgotten what his first name was. Jakub. If we can do it, if we can call Akagun Yunus, I'm sure we can call Stolchik Jakub. So Jakub is he's signed with us till 2026, just out of interest. And Zelko Kalic, you know, we joke about him, and I always used to call him Dracula because he was afraid of crosses. But he went on to play for AC Milan and in the Champions League. So, yeah, I know contracts mean nothing, Gray. You're quite right there. But if he doesn't want to go, a bit like Yannick didn't, he can. What I'm saying is he can sit there until 2025. That's how long we'd have to pay him off. So, like you're saying, get him off the wage bill, yes, but that's how long we could possibly have him on the wage bill for. Right. Now, this gentleman left, but he may be coming back. And this again, Brad, it's down to. Of course, they've got a new manager now, Sheffield United, or a returning manager, who wants to bring more loan players in. And I kind of guess that makes sense, because when you look where Sheffield United are, they don't know, although they've probably got a good idea where they're going to be next season. But there's no point playing big money out and then you get relegated and you're stuck with those players. But to bring in loans, they've got to get rid of loans, and the rumours are that Thomas is going to be coming back to Leicester, and I'm sure loaned straight out or sold again.
Yeah, it's a bit disappointing, isn't it? Because again, a player that you kind of sympathise. He was thrusted into the first team when we went through that injury crisis. He seems to have been a little bit of a scapegoat at times for his performances.
of a scapegoat, don't they?
I know, right? They go hand in hand, especially from the left back area. Apparently, with Chilwell
Yeah.
being another one.
Yeah.
But this is just a bit disappointed because if he does get cut from Sheffield United, you've just said about where they are in the league and how they're struggling, and if he's getting turned back to us because he's not deemed good enough to help keep them up, it doesn't say a lot for his future. And then it all just depends how quickly can Leicester get him back out the door, either permanently or on loan, because he's not got a place in this team. I wish he did, but he doesn't.
I mean, Spencer says Thomas won't fit in here now. Gray says Thomas won't be for Enzo. Agree with both of you guys. I think if he was, he would still be here. And again, look, people went, "Oh, isn't he rubbish?" I mean, they were saying Chilwell was rubbish when he was England's first choice left back. Leicester fans do love to hate a particular player, and I've been there myself. We all do have our favourites, but look, if he was part of Enzo's plans, he wouldn't have gone. We know that he likes a left-footed defender. That's why Doyle is getting, the starts and had the starts at the start of the season. There's a lot of starts in there, I know. But Thomas never let us down. Scored a worldly was against Man United when he actually shouted to Jamie Vardy to leave the ball for him. Played in Europe for us. We would have been absolutely fucked without him.
Yeah, he's definitely stepped up and been a credit to us when we needed him. It's just unfortunate the way it's kind of gone a bit stop-startish for him with his career. But yeah, very reliable when we've needed to be in big moments. It's not a picnic to defend in the Premier League, especially when Leicester are maintaining such a high finish in the leagues, that the pressure's on you even more to not make mistakes because it gets scrutinised more, because it's more noticeable when a little Leicester's in the top 5 seasons, for a few seasons in a row. So yeah, I mean, he's not going to leave. He's going to leave a few memories for me if he does move on, and I think he will. I just don't think he suits the Enzo style, which is a bit of a shame. He's a talent that's come through the ranks, but I also want to see him do well. So might be a summer situation where we get the move on, but I would take either or.
I mean, he will, if he comes back and stays, he's not going to get in the squad, I wouldn't have thought, unless we're into the position where we have a spare place available. So let's not fill it full of goalkeepers. Let's stick another player in. But if we've got a full 25-man squad, we're just going to be paying his wages for 6 months, aren't we? That's the thing.
Yeah, that's it. And you want to kind of get him somewhere.
And let's have a look as well. Within this sort of space of talking of Thomas, we've got, and I'm not going to sort of go into details on him, but Christensen, another fantastic player, but just doesn't fit into the new manager's way of playing.
No. However, I know there's like a weird sort of agreement with his loan, but he is a player. I
was going to say that they're trying to knock the price down, aren't they?
Yeah, and for me, I still say this: Christensen's pace and his ability to drive with wins, I think he can become a part. Unlike Thomas, I actually feel like Christensen still has a chance to become part of Enzo's thing in the summer. That might be something that gets reevaluated. I don't know how he's playing where he's playing.
The problem with Christensen is he doesn't want to adapt.
Yeah, if that's the case, then that's another one we need to move on, because he's on a long contract with us, isn't he? He signed a 5-year deal when we had him. So Christensen's
I will tell you, because I've actually got those details up here. All I need to do is try and find.
For me, that will literally come down to him as a person and him as a player. If he wants to move, then we've got him on a contract, so we've got a few years to try and sell him if that's the case.
I haven't got him actually because
well, we only signed him at the halfway point of last season, didn't we?
I know, because he's loaned out. He's not on my list of Leicester City players. That's the problem.
Yeah,
so,
I could be wrong. Someone in the comments might know better than me.
We did only sign him.
I'm pretty certain it was a 5-year deal he committed to as well.
I won't argue with you on that.
Good. I'm glad you won't.
But yeah, yes. It's like in being an England manager. Everybody screams, well, you should be picking A. Everybody's screaming for this one player. And the manager's thinking, but he doesn't fit into my style of play.
Yeah.
Why do I put a right back in my England squad when I play three at the back, let's say? And it's the same, Enzo has come out and said, well, not Enzo, but the rumours are that people have come out and said, or I've read it somewhere, that he will not change. He wants to play the way he plays. And fair play, he's young, he wants to. So if he's not prepared to adapt, why pay his wages,
No, exactly.
But then again, we had a deal in place with, whether it was Atlanta or wherever he's gone to. And yeah, they're now trying to renege on it and get a deal, but I don't know. But yeah, Brad is a bit part player. Look, I like Pratt. Sorry, Brad. Sorry, Pratt is a bit part player. Sorry, Brad. Pratt is a bit part player. It's because of his injuries. He's a sick note, and I love Pratt. I don't think he got the chance because of the other Belgium here. But I've got to say, sell him, because it's a bit like Johnny Evans last season, Brad. Otherwise, we're just going to be paying wages for a player that's just going to be taking up a hospital bed.
Yeah. Sadly, I have to agree with you. Although isn't he one of the players whose contract ends this season with us? So
yeah.
it might be difficult to sell him, and Enzo might just think, well, he's reliable when he's fit, so I might as well keep him for the sake to keep him, because no one's really going to pay for him. I just can't imagine how anyone would, and if that's the case, I would like to see him move on for his own good so he can play and hopefully his injuries clear up.
I think it's this window that they're talking about buying him, I think.
Yeah, if they can, then obviously get some money for him, Pratt, while we can. But
I think it's something like 15 was agreed. They want 12. Now, for me, I'd say take the 12 because we're going to get out for him in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, if that's if what you've said about Christensen saying that's true, then there's no point in it. Get some money, and clubs do try the arm. They say, look, we do want him, but we'll give you 2 million less, but we'll take him off your hands now. Yeah, that's a player that Leicester, could take off the wage bill.
Yeah,
as well, like you say. So yeah, it could work out. We'll see with that one.
Craig says Pratt is a bit dodgy, can't defend, and hasn't scored this season. But I reckon Nottingham Forest will snap him up for 30 million, though. I don't think Brad would go to Forest. He doesn't like the queue for the gents.
No, we don't talk about Forest.
No. Look, will this happen? And if so, would he be a good signing? Fabio Carvalho. I mean, he was at Fulham for a couple of seasons, 40 appearances, 11 goals in him. 2022, Liverpool signed him for 5 million, right, 7.7 with add-ons. Let me just say, he scored his first goal for the club. Oh, Craig Carvalho scored his first goal for Liverpool in the 9-0 win over AFC Bournemouth. Hi, Craig. So I just thought I'd mention that. Look, he's let's have a look. He's a winger, stroke attacking midfielder. He said he doesn't want to leave Liverpool, and I get that. I don't think, let's be honest with you, anybody would. I think it's us, and there's another team that's interested in him, I think. Again, we're talking loan. Would you be interested in him?
I'm not sure we need him. And if we're gonna take people's word for what they're saying, i.e., like what you said about Christensen, and we're saying that he said, I don't want to leave Liverpool, then whilst I understand that, the greatest respect, I don't want that sort of mentality here. I don't want somebody at the football club who's not interested in really how we do because he wants to go back. Even if we got him on loan, Chris, what's the point? Because he's only going to stop caring once the job's done for Leicester and take a wage up because he wants to go back to Liverpool. I don't think it's a move we should be making now. I know there was hype from him. I know Fulham fans were acceptant of losing him when they lost him, but they were really disappointed because they really rated him. I think he needs to be in a better headspace. If he's wanted to move, I would go for him. But if what you're saying is true, that he's like, oh, I want to stay at Liverpool, he's only going to be interested in a loan move. And I just don't like it when there's that sort of thing about a loan player. I'm fine with a club saying they don't want to sell because they seem to have a bit more hunger and try to impress, don't they? But if he's saying, I don't want to leave, but Liverpool are trying to get him out on loan, you talk about the Espria with Newcastle.
But then
I'm just
again,
thinking,
if he was to turn up for Liverpool again, Liverpool fans would look at that and go, he wants to stay, get behind that lad. Rather than him sat there saying, yeah, get me out on loan, I want to leave.
well, yeah, I get that, but also it's just you talk about the Esprit of Newcastle thing. I don't want to play it because it has the potential, if that's a line of thinking, to come in and rock the boat, if you will. If it was brought, then obviously you'd think, well, he obviously, putting his career first and wants to come to us, and I'd be happy for it. I just wouldn't take him on loan. Again, there's just one for me that it's very left field. But unless it was a permanent move,
I would probably take
be
him on a loan, and I think Liverpool would only let him go out on a loan. The problem is that he went out on loan to where was it? RP Leipzig, and he only played 9 times, and that's why Liverpool have withdrawn him. So we sent him out on loan. And what the hell, you're not playing him? So we're going to have him back and maybe send him somewhere where he is going to be out on loan. For me, I think this was one of the first links that came out, and it was possibly when we thought we could be losing Fatawu to Ghana. Is it that he plays for?
Yes. Yeah.
So, and of course, we're not now. So maybe there's not the need for him. Scott says, I can't remember who it was, but I know he's been linked with other teams, with other Premier League teams for loans. But if you are Jurgen Klopp, do you want to loan him to another Premier League club? I know you've got the saying that, he maybe can't, it's in the agreement he can't play against you, but still. And look, we've got loan players from Chelsea and Manchester City. I'm sure people would look at Leicester and go, bloody hell, look how good they're doing. Yeah, I want my player to go there and be part of that winning mentality. But look, we'll see. I don't think it will happen now because, I think it was earlier, like I say, with the Fatawu, might be losing him sort of thing. So we will see. Now, this is an interesting one. And we've got Luke in here, the True Red, who was obviously a Notts Forest. I love saying Notts Forest because they hate it. Because it's Notts County, but we like to call them Notts Forest. And we've been linked with their captain. Now he's a right-footed centre back, Worrell there. This is an interesting one because if he's going to go for a centre back, you would have thought it would have been a left-footed. We're not exactly short of right-footed centre backs. We've got Yannick, we've got Bout. We've got James. We've even got Harry Sutar, who I don't know why he is, we're looking at selling him because I don't think he's let us down. Again, your thoughts on this one?
I don't really know too much about him, really. He's not one of the names in the Forest team. All right, there's 5 million of them, but he's not one of them that I ever hear stand out talking about. Luke would probably tell us he's the next best thing since sliced bread was invented, but he could also lie for his back teeth because he wants rid of him and he wants us to sign him. I don't really know a lot about him.
He's been injured, to be honest with you.
So but I'm with you, Chris, that you named our entire centre backs, and we've got players that can play that role if necessary and step across, like Justin's done this season, and Ricardo's done at points. We've got a gluttony of centre-backs, and I can't imagine, for the sake of dropping down a division, to have to earn his way into the team, to then be second, third choice maybe if we were to go back into the Premiership.
Yeah.
Is Worrell that sort of player? Because I can imagine if he's wanting to move because he's got, his injuries had him knocked down the pecking order at Forest and they're in the Premier League, he's not going to want to revert back to being a bench player. He's obviously hungry to want to play. I don't think this move would benefit anybody. I think Worrell would maybe want to go to another Championship side, but one he feels he's confident of getting in their team.
Luke said he's played for them today, so maybe I'm. Look,
they conceded 2 goals against Blackpool, who are in League One, so that maybe tells you.
We haven't done too bad with defenders and centre-backs we signed from Forest, have we?
No, there was a very famous Forest captain of theirs that came over and said, Sod's going. He shot on the red side, came over to Leicester and won a Premier League with us.
Exactly. Wes Morgan is a blue. But just reading his wiki page here. During the 2021 season, Worrell regularly captained the Forest side during Lewis Grabban's absence through injury. He scored against rivals Leicester City during a 4-1 FA Cup win. I forgot about that.
Typical. Yeah, all right. Yeah, thanks for that.
Holding Forest promotion to the Premier League and captained them in the 1-0 playoff final victory over Huddersfield Town. Wasn't that when Nottingham Forest had 12 players on the pitch because they had a guy that was playing in black as well? Anyway, I could be wrong. On the 4th of August, Worrell was named Forest captain for the season in the 2022-23 Premier League season. So I'm presuming he is still captain. This season he's played 7 times for them, apparently. Last few seasons, I mean, all right, this is Nottingham Forest. He played first 2019-20. He played 46 times in the Championship, 31 times the following season, 39 times the season after, 30 times last season when they stayed up, and of course we didn't. So it wouldn't be a bad signing. I don't know whether he would want, and I'm not disrespecting Luke because I hate it when people talk, you talk about players from other clubs that might be joining us. This isn't one that I think like you say, do we need another defender? I really don't think. Why would we bring him in when we've got Cody, in fairness? I've forgotten to mention Cody. But look, he's 26. Now, Cody is obviously a lot older. Cody's contract expires, where are we? 2025, I think it is. 2026, sorry. So at the end of next season, Connor Cody's contract expires. So he could be being brought in with a plan to eventually replace Cody's place, if you like. But what can he offer us that Sutar can't?
No, exactly, and that's what you look at. He's not going. I just can't see him getting in the team with the players we've got. It's the backup. He's not getting in front of that. He's going to be, at best, he's going to be third choice, because even if next year, let's say and I'm sorry to say this, Chris, that you say it about my love child, so I'm going to say it about yours. Even if your love child Vestergaard decides not to stay on at Leicester and move, he'd still be third choice because Cody would take that natural role. Like you said, Sutar would be his competitor for that. And Nelson is a youngster coming through. Obviously, Enzo seems to really like him because he's started to feature in the matchday squads. And he obviously played, was it the full 90 against Millwall yesterday?
Yes,
the league, Nelson. Yeah. So the competition's already there, and I just feel like, and this is a show of respect to him. I feel like he would want first team football. Yeah, and I just don't think he would get that here. I just don't see that as an option.
No, not straight away. And like I say, respect to Luke. I hated it when like, oh, Barnes is coming to Newcastle. We're going to get Barnes. Yeah. Newcastle fans suddenly turning into Man United and Arsenal fans. So I don't like doing it to other clubs, but I don't think Vestergaard will be our automatic first choice when we move up to the Premier League.
No, that's what I imagine. That's what would happen myself.
As much as I love him because I love an underdog, and I think after the way that everybody had treated him, to come back and say, look, look at what I'm doing. Whether he would want to stay on, knowing that he's probably might not be first choice, will be interesting. But yeah, this is one I can't see happening, to be honest with you. I think I agree with you there. I'm not particularly... I wouldn't particularly have anything against it, but no, you look at. Did you mention what was it? Ben? Oh, I've forgotten his name now. The youngster that started.
Ben Nelson.
Ben Nelson. Did you mention him?
Yeah.
So he's obviously being groomed. That sounds wrong, doesn't it? But you know what I mean. He's being groomed. Ben
Nelson, the youngster's being groomed. Breaking news.
That's for another show, another time. But no, he's obviously being groomed to come through, isn't he? As one of those defenders, you know. So yeah, I can't see that happening. The last one we're going to look at in detail here, Dalio from Manchester United, who again has stated he wants to stay at Man United, but then again, who wouldn't? As bad as things are going there, but sent out on loan, not worked out. Thoughts on him?
I mean, when you've seen him play, he has shown he has got the quality to it. I'm a bit concerned though, because like Carvalho, not more for the fact that this is the second player that has gone on loan somewhere and hasn't worked out. Now you do have to ask yourself, why hasn't it worked out? What was there an agreed playing time and he's not keeping to it? But then you ask yourself, well, why isn't he getting that playing time? What is their manager seeing or not seeing that's warranting him not being picked or picked enough for Liverpool and Man U respectively to want their players back and try and send out elsewhere? He's young, he has got the hunger, and as I do love good old Mark, good old Kevin, as a backup to Steffi Mavididi, but, and this may be the only area I really see this being something we may need to invest in on use our one loan space up, would be a backup in case Mavididi was to suffer a touchwood there, if you can hear that. An injury of some degree, you know, like Ndidi, and was out for the majority of the rest of the season. I maybe would say that is an area I'd like to see us be able to bring in. So if the option's there to loan, I mean, it's a bit strange. You think with the crisis at Manchester United, there'd be a bit of a fire drill going on there, but fair play.
Played his first game for United in over 2 years on the 30th of December 2023 as a late substitute in the 2-1 defeat away to Forest.
Well, maybe we don't get them. If you can't play and we beat Forest, no, but you know, he obviously feels he can get into United. He maybe feels more, look, I just need someone to give me a chance of running the side and let me prove my worth. But again, I asked the question: is he going to want to come and play second fiddle / squad player to Steffi Mavididi? Because that's what you've got with this team, Chris, right now. This is why I think we've both said it's not a huge necessity for us to do business in this window because of the quality of the squad in its entirety right now. I would take him as long as he's happy to work hard and understand he's going to be second choice. And Man United would have to be happy with that.
Yeah. Again, do we bring him in because we are losing? What's he called? Kevin at the end of the season.
Yeah. But then again, Chris, sorry to interrupt you. Again, we've got Marcel and McAteer's versatile can play on that side. And McAteer is going to struggle to get in the team unless he's fighting, Mavididi for a spot because he's not removing Fatawu from there. So, now I've thought about it a bit more. Is it that necessary? So maybe not. Again, I can't believe I'm saying that.
No, but again, the big thing is with signings, and I think this is what the transfer window has done to us as fans and being in the Premier League as well, is we expect signings.
Yes.
If you remember under O'Neill, we only ever seemed to sign anybody right at the end if we were desperate. we have to buy? No. Is it better value to bring youngsters through? Of course it is, because they know, and like you, I think it was you that said, all our, our under 21s, our under 18s, they're all playing the Enzo way, so that when they come up, they're not gone from a 4-4-2 to the 4-2-3-1 or something like that. They're coming up from a 4-2-3-1 to a 4-2-3-1, so they know exactly what they're doing and what's expected from them in their positions. So and we'll be talking more about Marcel tomorrow night. But there's if we can bring players through. Nelson, look, okay, it was Millwall. Improved as the game went on. There's no doubt about that. Yesterday, wasn't it? I'm losing track of my days. He did nothing wrong. Marcho did nothing wrong. Didn't particularly stand out, but he did nothing wrong. You've got, like you say, Masonwi, however it's pronounced, ready to break through. Let's not forget Alves and who's the other one? Braybrook. To break through
exactly.
as well. And McAteer. These are all youngsters that, when called, most of them, when called upon and haven't been injured this season, have come on and done a bloody good job. Why go out and spend 10 million on somebody when you've got these players that know the system because they've been playing that system in the lower leagues and can come through, let's face it, for absolutely nothing?
Yeah, we've always spoke highly and noted on many a show when we've talked about it, the quality, that's in our youth system. It's brilliant. I think it's great that they have the under 18s and the under 21s and the under 15s and all working from the age groups, working towards how the first team play, because it just makes that transition easier. And I feel, I don't know if you do. I'm sure some statistics guru could work it out, but it feels like if you train them that way, you get more success rate of players that come through the academy at a higher level. And we've had some fantastic ones. We've been very fortunate compared to a lot of other clubs. We've been very blessed with youngsters that have gone on to become first team talents, far more than the majority of the 92 teams in this league. So it's great to see. And we've got such a bright future ahead of us in terms of talent we've got. And we probably haven't even seen some of them yet, like you said.
No. As Scott says there, agree with what you're saying, but it's good to rotate players. Yes, it is. But we've only got 25 players we can rotate. All right, the FA Cup's a little bit different because you don't have to stick with your squad. And I think it's, we actually saw yesterday, though, the strength of our squad. Because there were all squad players, even though the Nelsons and the Marcels haven't seen much game time. They are part of the squad anyway, so we weren't sort of picking youngsters out like we did a few seasons ago. That said, they didn't let us down, and we won that game against Watford. More so did better than the senior players did in the following round against Forest. So, but again, we can only use those 25 players. But the point Scott makes here, do you see Alves or Braybrook, etc., going out on loan? I don't see why not. Brad, what do you think?
I don't see why not. They've had a long injury and a long recovery, though, so it would be good. I'm sure Enzo is kind of definitely catching an eye on them, making sure, because I think Braybrook had a setback, or Alves had a setback, which means they're a little bit off the ball of where they wanted to for their initial return. But they have been out there, and the quicker you get minutes back under their legs and they can get the confidence back, it would be beneficial. And again, from what we've seen of them, Chris, it isn't a lot, granted, but they're both very young. I also wouldn't be adverse about them being on the bench, ready to come on if necessary in games this season. I think the loan would be more ideal and more beneficial to them. But I'm happy either way if we keep hold of them, because I can see them making an impact off the bench.
Yes. Like I say, it's a great position to be in. When was the last time you were able to sit here in a transfer window and go, look, if we don't buy anybody, not the end of the world. It's been nothing's ever happened, to be honest with you. But let's just quickly have a look at this.
Coming up next on Leicester Till I Die TV.
Well, coming up next is at 7:45 tomorrow. It's an extra show. It is the FA Cup fourth round draw. That's 7:45. That will just be a very sort of quick 20 minutes just to cover the draw. Leicester City are number 13, Brad. Ooh.
Oh, hopefully it's unlucky for our opposition when they get drawn against us. That'd be nice.
I know I asked you this yesterday, but I'm going to ask you again because it's a different show. Lower league team or Premier League team where it doesn't really matter whether we go through or not, as much as we want to win, obviously.
Honestly, this season the priority is promotion. So for me, I think this team could hold its own already. This team could really hold its own against a mid-tier Premier League side. At the end of the day, as good as a nice cup run is, Chris, I'd rather go out in the fourth round at home to Manchester City than I would struggle and limp to a replay against Bristol City and League One opposition like Blackpool getting taken to a replay. So I'd rather get Man City.
You failed to beat Blackpool today.
Oh, some tin pot tree team called Tossingham Forest or something like that. Not Forest, I believe they're called.
Forest, that was them. I'm glad you remember. Oh, Luke, hello, sorry.
Oh, sorry, Luke. Did I say I accidentally said tin pot? No, we'll let it out. He'll never hear it. Don't worry.
No, we'll edit it out. It's not live. Nobody's watching.
Yeah, that's all right.
He says, let's be having you again. I was speaking to Doug earlier. Poor old Arsenal season's going right? Isn't it? The chances are we're probably going to get Liverpool, isn't it? For the third time not third time this season. Well, third time this season because we had them in the pre-season. So maybe it's third time lucky. Who knows? Who's managing Forest now?
That is the ex-Wolves manager, Nuno Espirito.
Yeah, who did so well at Spurs. Yeah. That's the one.
That one, yeah, him.
Yeah, him.
He was only 89th choice Spurs manager. It's not like they didn't publicly reject 7 other managers before they picked him. How embarrassing!
That is very true, and he probably made a lot of money out of them sacking him. But I want Forest. I won't mind Spurs, to be honest with you.
No, I don't like Spurs. We went through a weird phase of drawing Spurs out in the third round for about 4 years three out of 4 years.
They struggled on Friday night against Burnley. When it was a wonder goal.
It's Spurs in the cup, mate. Why do they always struggle?
I know, but they did actually go through 1-0 against Burnley. Obviously, winning is something Burnley doesn't want to do. Yeah, I do like their manager, though. I do like. I've seen somebody was asking him, could he imagine himself holding trophies? He said, I have to just look at me pictures, mate.
Oh yeah, there's that. Yeah,
absolutely fantastic. So that's coming up. Look, 7:45 tomorrow. Join us for the FA Cup fourth round draw. That means because we're doing that at 7:45, and we know that will not start at 7:45. Although it's the FA Cup, so you never know. That the debate show is going to be going on starting at 8:30. So rather than 7 o'clock, the debate show is on at 8:30, and we're going to be joined by Neil from Beyond the 90. And what we're going to be looking at there is in the debate show is the FA Cup fourth round draw. So we'll be discussing who we've got. FA Cup players, the FA Cup, which players stake to claim, possibly to be in the starting 11. Enzo striker conundrum. Now, there's a big word for Sunday night. For Taru's AFCON decision. So they're going to be the main topics. And then obviously at the end, we'll be taking your questions for the panel. And then we'll be all rounding it up with our new feature, Chat Shit Get Banged, which is basically the same as the old feature, Monday Mayhem, just renamed because I like Chat Shit Get Banged. But there we go. Brad, thank you so very much, sir. I will see you for episode 2, hopefully. Once something happens, or a quick show if we actually go and sign anybody. Do tell us all about your plans if you ever get back to Manchester. You may have to retire down in St Ives.
Oh, that wouldn't be a tragedy if I had to. But no, go and check out LTI TV. It's easy for me to say. LTI. Help me out here, Chris. I can't say it. I'm be tongue tied.
LTID TV2.
Ha! There we go. We'll edit that out. It's not live. I run that channel, courtesy of Chris. It's there for the women's football, Leicester City's women's. They're obviously on a break at the moment. They're all coming back from their winter break. So once that's all back, and I do eventually pass immigration into Manchester from the Cornish. We're not separate islands. I must be speaking in a Cornish accent so much they don't think I live there. But I will get back there, and that will start. And also, it's not just for that. If you love a good football quiz, I have one in the works coming soon in this new year. So go and show me some love and support on there. You'd be forever grateful for. I'll be forever grateful for it, and I promise you, content will be coming to that channel soon.
Just search LTID TV2. You see, I can say it. That's 3, 2, 1. And the link, though, if you can't remember it because it's a difficult one, the link is in the description below on YouTube. And don't forget, on Sunday, I'm off to write it now. It's the BBC Sport webpage. Just go to bbcsport.com/LCFC, and on a Tuesday you will be able to read Fan's Voice. Guess what I'll be talking about. So here we go. Thanks very much, Brad. Have a great rest of the week. What's left, and I will speak to you during the week, no doubt. And don't forget, Prediction League will be back on Friday.
Yay! I'm dreading doing the maths, mate. I feel like Santa checking the naughty and nice list the day before work. I'm dreading doing it all out. Because you know what? Do you know what the worst thing is, mate? What I'll do is I'll do the right maths and write it down, then I'll type it up for you and get it wrong typing it up. I'm a genius at it. I'm brilliant.
God help us all. That's all I can say.
Yeah, all I can say is Doug's gone from like nearly 200 points to minus 15. I don't know how that happened, but that's what the maths have worked it out at.
I'm not going to argue with that. Not going to argue with that one. Look, thanks to everybody that was in the chat. Thanks to Brad for joining me on that one. Do appreciate it. 2 shows tomorrow, 7:45 the FA Cup draw, 4th round, and 8:30 Let's Talk Leicester, the debate show. Thank you to everybody that's been watching on YouTube, also listening on your favourite podcast platform. Thank you for lending us your ears. I'm going to try it again for the first time in the new year. Tonight, it's good night from me.
And it's good night from him.
Yay! Good night.
I remembered it. Good night.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
The TalkSport Fan Network is the ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts,
including Leicester Till I Die, independent analysis and reaction for the Foxes faithful.
The TalkSport Fan Network.
Unbeatable club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Follow the podcast on the TalkSport Fan Network.